I think in watching people try to defend themselves for their participation in this is kind of funny because they like go through these like moral arguments and then always revert back to like you're buying a meme coin, like we owe you nothing is kind of their approach. Which is kind of funny and a little bit true. Look, these things are not like things that create value in the traditional sense. They are attention games where people realize that if you can bring more attention on the token that you launch for a longer period of time, and people are like willing to engage in this risky game of like trying not to be the last man out, then you can make a lot of money. So I think not a lot has changed is my answer. This is kind of the game that's been played for a long time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Mine with CoinFund. My name is Einar Braathen, and I'm an investor here at CoinFund. Today, I'm joined by Beniers, a fellow investor of mine. Bobby, how's it going?
Going good, Einar. Excited to be on today. As everyone can see, just the two of us on the show today, but we're super eager to have a discussion about kind of the news over the weekend surrounding the LIBRA token being launched with the endorsement of the president of Argentina, and kind of the flurry of new information that we got about the meme coin world over the weekend. So super excited to dive in.
Great. Yeah, same. So maybe starting off, would you mind just kind of quickly recapping what happened over the weekend? Kind of what is the Libra launch and why does it matter?
Yeah, sure. Let's set the facts. I think like obviously some of this stuff is still being uncovered. But what we know so far, February 14th on Valentine's Day at around 5 o'clock, the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, tweeted an endorsement of a meme coin called Libra being launched in the Solana ecosystem, and posted a link to the contract address so that people could go and buy it. Shortly after, the market cap ballooned up to over 4.5 billion, and then quickly people started to see on chain certain actors that looked like insiders were pulling money out to the tune of 80 to 100 million US dollars. And upon seeing that, the token price crashed. The president of Argentina deleted his tweet and basically went back on his endorsement, and $4.5 billion was raised in about 7 hours. So a lot of retail that was on the short end of the stick here. And in the subsequent days, we've kind of learned more about what happened. And a few actors have been uncovered. First is Hayden Davis, the kind of anti-hero of this story, CEO of Kelsier Ventures and an advisor to Javier Milei prior to the launching of Libra. Hayden was part of the team that you can think of them as like the deployers of the meme coin, as well as the market makers who facilitate liquidity on the AMMs that they trade on. And what people saw from Hayden is that early on, him and his team were actually part of the sniping group who was extracting value from this launch, and was the main catalyst to kind of make the token price blow up. Following the sniping from Hayden and kind of the reveal of that, there was some more kind of storylines that became exposed. There was this whole storyline with Dave Portnoy, which I think is frankly hilarious. Dave Portnoy kind of knew about the launch from, I suppose, Hayden before the fact, was able to purchase within the first 10 minutes of launch, which isn't necessarily what I would consider a snipe, but like able to be very early due to insider information. Ended up losing like $5 million. And then Hayden from his personal wallet, like sent 5 million to reimburse him. So people were very up in arms around that. So we're recording this on February 19th. And as of today, there's a whole nother storyline unfolding between like Stool Presidente and Hayden launching a slew of meme coins, basically telling people like, we are going to rug you. Don't buy this token. Like, we're calling it greed. It's a whole thing. So yeah, it's kind of spun out of control from there. But main point here is like, this instance, in my view, has like really uncovered this whole ecosystem of like kind of shady actors, and like shown a light on it for the Solana community, the retail community, like non-crypto people. Everybody is kind of getting the inside look here because of this like colossal screw up from the Libra team, I suppose. The president endorsing the Kelsier Ventures sniping has just kind of blown it all up. There's been a couple really interesting interviews that have been part of that like expose. One of them with Dave Portnoy recently, and then the other one with, let's see, Voidzilla on YouTube. So learning a lot and excited to dive into what this all means.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that recap. I think that summarized it pretty well. So, leaving maybe the morality and utility of these meme coins aside, what, in your view, has anything changed? Like, is this not kind of what's been going on in meme coins since the beginning? Is it, hey, this is at a different scale, and so it's become like completely, getting more attention? Or like, what if anything has changed here, and like kind of what impact do you think that might have on meme coins moving forward?
Yeah, I think in watching people try to defend themselves for their participation in this is kind of funny because they like go through these like moral arguments and then always revert back to like, you're buying a meme coin, like we owe you nothing is kind of their approach. Which is kind of funny and a little bit true. Look, these things are not like things that create value in the traditional sense. They are attention games where people realize that if you can bring more attention on the token that you launch for a longer period of time, and people are like willing to engage in this risky game of like trying not to be the last man out, then you can make a lot of money. So I think not a lot has changed is my answer. This is kind of the game that's been played for a long time. And the way I'm thinking about this, the only like vector here that's being played around with is like insider selling. So basically, like if you on one side of the spectrum, you could have like a project where like insiders have no allocation of tokens and or promise to like never sell the token or never add to selling production. And on the other end, you have people that like are either promising they won't sell right away or won't sell until we hit a certain market cap, or what Hayden Davis was trying to portray to the media to clear his name was that he was only sniping the token in order to like fund a treasury to keep it going longer and create like the first ever sustainable meme coin. So like whether or not that's true is certainly up for debate, but you can see that like most of this is the same story with when are insiders selling and monetizing this effort being the main thing that's changing in my view.
So, kind of business like usual with meme coin land, I would always be tempted to say, and I agree. I'm not sure we're seeing the end of this yet. Although sentiment on crypto Twitter, our favorite place, seems to be pretty over meme coins. So if anything, I guess if that's like a leading indicator, maybe that is a turning point that has changed the sentiment.
It's interesting. Yeah, we should totally talk about that. Like, can meme coins continue? I think is what's on everyone's mind. And it's funny to think about it, but like there was some aspect of trust in like people that launch meme coins that's just been completely destroyed after all of this. So I did not think that trust was the thing that was propelling the meme coin space forward, but without it, I'm not sure that it can continue. So either like there needs to be kind of a new platform, like Meteora was a big kind of player in this, in being the platform that was utilized by Kelsier Ventures to launch the LIBRA token. And maybe we just need a more transparent platform for launching meme coins so that we don't need this trust. But in the current state, I think there's not much of a runway forward for, this iteration of meme coins.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think from our portfolio companies, we do have some that are tangentially involved in meme coins, but either running infrastructure or other things. And as far as I can tell, we haven't seen any sort of immediate impact on those companies. Now, I don't think we've seen the full fallout here yet, but yeah, at least there hasn't been like a seismic change in activity as far as we can tell from sort of the portfolio side of things.
If anything, it seems like as bad as this is for like the reputation of crypto as like people who build serious technology, and as bad as this is for the market caps of associated projects, it's possible that this is like net positive, just seeing so many like non-crypto native eyes on the ecosystem, kind of getting into the weeds of like, you kind of have to understand what an automated market maker is and like figure out like how a bonding curve works in order to like understand this story. So in a lot of ways, it's like, it could be true that, this is bringing a lot more like retail eyeballs into DeFi generally, and they can actually mess around with some of the products that really are like value additive and like kind of what gets, I think, Einar and I up in the morning.
Yeah. No, I totally wake up to trade Fartcoin. That's where I get out of bed. But no, I think yeah, I think you're right. There seems to be two camps. There seems to be like all PR is good PR camp, and I think it is undeniable that meme coins and Trump coin and MELANIA coin and Milei coin is putting crypto back on the agenda in a way. In a way it's never seen before. Right, front and center for some of the
Yeah.
uh, most important, most top of mind global talks there are. And so from that perspective, it clearly has an enormous impact and an outsized impact, really, from the compared to the economic, and then that's been kind of moving around here. And now, you know, I would say almost all meme connectivity, as good as all meme connectivity has been on Solana so far. You could argue there has been a little bit of on in the Telegram blockchain as well, but I would say let's maybe focus in on Solana here and dive a little bit deeper into like if this is hurting or benefiting, I guess, Solana, the ecosystem itself, like kind of where do we go from here, right? Because it's a very strange industry that we work in that, on one hand, we have all these large institutional financial players that are really, really seriously considering Solana and launching, offerings here. And then on the other hand, we have this meme coin, these kind of types of clear scams and grifts going on. So curious if you have like a view here, or feel strongly one way or the other, how does this impact the ecosystem, and where do we go from here for this one folks?
Interesting. I mean, the one thing that you like can't deny about meme coins is they were printing trading fees for the Solana ecosystem, and like specifically trading infrastructure, as well as like on like literal just kind of block fees and priority fees for the Solana blockchain. So I think for a long time, I heard people talk about Solana finding product market fit through meme coins, which I can't deny. I think that's like potentially true. And they had product market fit elsewhere. I think they do a lot of great stuff around DeFi and payments, and they touch in gaming a little bit, a lot of deep in. So they've got a few areas where they're thriving. But the fact of it is, like, if meme coins, are unable to continue in their in their recent form, then they're losing like a massive amount of revenue that's been like kind of creating some exuberance around the ecosystem. And I talk about this kind of stuff a lot, but having a high token price incentivizes more builders to come and build, and it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy cycle there. So yeah, we'll be watching closely to see whether or not like the Solana ecosystem can quickly pivot to support and promote like different verticals that might replace some of that lost revenue to this vertical. Also in the past, I've talked to like head of ecosystems at other chains that like would like to compete with Solana. And meme coins have been like an important part of their initiatives. I remember Avalanche did an ecosystem fund specifically to like Steve meme coin activity. So will be interesting to see like the effects of this across the ecosystem. I think if meme coins are out of vogue, there will be a lot of like changes in the deployment of capital from ecosystem teams at chains all over. So definitely not a silo to Solana. And yeah, will be interesting to see kind of how people can reinvent themselves, reinvent the product market fit that they feel that they found through this vertical.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. And I also think, like, from my perspective, at least what I've seen so far is that, in the early, or like a couple of years ago, there was a lot of debate and thought about closed chains versus open chains, right? Like, where does enterprise and financial players want to live? Like, does Disney want to live next to like Memecoin, and like kind of does that sell the brand? Like, kind of how does that influence? I think what we're seeing and what we're hearing is that people are less worried about that than we feared like a couple of years ago. I think the average person who's spending time and attention on this is able to kind of decipher between, hey, this is like the scammy part of Solana, and this is like the more utilitarian part of Solana. And I do think we're going to keep seeing the interest. I honestly, I actually think it's probably a net positive for a system to get all the attention and the liquidity, as you say. And I think we're going to come, more to a place where we see like the internet, right? Where it's like, yes, a series of websites and fintech can live next to, a Reddit or a 9gag or 4chan, or like maybe some of the more unsavory parts, of the online ecosystem. So
Yeah.
so personally, I think even though the price is pulled down quite significantly right now, I think we're far away from like a Solana $8 here. So
Oh yeah. And that's what people overlook. Like you see some headlines that are talking about, Solana being way down, which it is in the past like week or month time frame, but also it's at similar levels to December of last year, which was like 2.5 months ago. So like we're not really seeing any like massive shift in kind of valuation or prominence of our space. It's more just kind of like a short-term blip that needs to be corrected for by these teams, in my opinion. But you make a really strong point about kind of whether or not crypto is in vogue is, I think, an important conversation to have. I remember like during the FTX days, like people were really, giving people a hard time about like associating with FTX. I specifically remember Tom Brady. And, that's like, you'd imagine that these people were like never touching crypto again. And then like other people with similar stature are like, learned our lesson, should not be kind of touching crypto. But Trump kind of changed the game. Trump came in and he said, like, I'm going to embrace this new technology because, like, well, he's acting like a techno accelerationist. And yeah, other people are following suit, which is like pretty powerful, giving crypto branding a second wind, if we don't continue to squander it with things like Libra and Greed 2 and other meme coins that are specifically meant to rug people.
All right. So if we're to summarize, it sounds like, hey, grifter's going to grift. There will be, whenever you have growth, there's going to be noise. There's going to be scams. We've seen this since the beginning of financial systems, really. But overall, more attention is better. And this isn't going away immediately, at least. And so net, probably neutral to positive on the outlooks or the impact of this sort of rise in Solana, it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking to some crypto optimists here between you and I. So yeah, we're always going to put a positive spin on whatever's happening in the crypto space. But yeah, no, I think I agree with your take. Yeah. And then other thing I'm looking out for. So one thing I missed in the story is like, this isn't Hayden Davis's first time doing this. He was involved in Melania, and that's kind of well known now. But he had a business around kind of just doing this kind of same game over and over with, different endorsements or whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see like if that game does Kelsier Ventures continue to have a business model is kind of my question. Like, are they able to continue to get people to launch these tokens and extract value from retail? Or is this like kind of where the music stops? And, we've got to kind of figure out a new game to play because there will be a new game no matter what.
So, yeah, I agree. But I have a question for you there, even though we've already sort of summarized. And that is, you keep saying retail. Like, do you have a good sense for who these traders are? Is it mostly retail? Like, and maybe it's because, we're sitting inside of sort of around traders and professionals. But my impression is that, hey, this hasn't been like the average person in the street kind of buying a meme coins and like kind of retail investors, but more like professional speculation, right? And which is at least certainly a part of it. I'm not sure if it's all of it, but curious if you have a view of the breakdown there. Like, these are people who know what they're doing versus.
I think historically it was like, us and people that we've met at crypto conferences over the years, right? Like I think back to like maybe like Bonk or like Whiff Hat, like those were like kind of crypto people in my view. And I think like Trump and Melania kind of changed the game there. And, I had my dad calling me being like, yo, should I invest in this Trump coin? Like, it seems like people are making a lot of money off it. And like, that doesn't happen with Dog Whiff Hat, So I think in like the recent kind of month and a half, we've seen a change in who's getting screwed over by meme coins. I think I saw something. I think Galaxy did some interesting analysis that broke down the LIBRA launch, and I think they said something like 75% of people lost money, ranging from $1,000 to $100,000, and then the remaining percentage like maybe made some money. So and also in the Libra case, like I'm unsure if there's a bunch of people in Argentina who are like already dealing with currency devaluation in a really meaningful way, who then were prompted by their president to buy a different currency that was devalued like 99% in a day. So I assume that those people are involved in the Libra situation, which brings us back to Hayden Davis. Again, he's got $100 million in a wallet that he got from sniping his own launch. And he's saying to people like, this is the project's money. I want to like either make the token go back up or distribute it to people. I don't think he knows what he wants to do yet, but that's part of the ongoing story here is like, I think in this Libra case, you have people that are like, they don't have a ton of disposable income and they got screwed over by their president, and people are thinking through how to make that right. So short answer, I think the game has changed and retail has taken on a totally new demographic. And that's a problem for this kind of scammy game that people like to play.
Weird. All right. Well, I think that's fair. I will say, if it is retail investors out there, they're incredibly fast because it feels like this whole saga happened in less than 24 hours. It was kind of over by the time I caught on to it, I think, at least. So impressive for the people who were able to get in there.
Well, how many followers does Javier Milei have? Like 3-4 million? Like, I assume if you're in that country, you know, similar to, like I might have, you know, DJT like X notifications on for all tweets. Like they might have a similar thing. And like when your president posts like, you know, this is going to be our new token, you move quickly, I suppose.
Yeah, totally fair. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to chat through sort of the latest and what's going on with Memecoins and Libra here with Bobby. You know, let's keep the conversation going. Leave us a review. Let us know what you thought. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, my handle is Einar_HB. If you'd like to follow Bobby, his is @Bobby_Beniers. Download where you get your podcast, and we'll be back soon to dig deep more ideas of the blockchain space. So thank you.